Hi, I'm just going to talk you through the Plaids and Blues Ravioli quilt here quickly. Um, there's one over there on the end of the table that I've done. That's the one for the dog, and this is a smaller one. It's only going to be 20 units or 20 blocks on it. The first thing that I do is I'm going to lay out the flannel for the flannel squares that are going to make the back of the quilt up, so that I know that they're all different and not touching each other. Now, for every ravioli unit or block, I'm going to use one piece of flannel, one piece of denim, one piece of wadding, and one piece of, so that goes wadding first, and then the denim, and then the embellishment, which is going to go about there. So I'm going to just go ahead and make these up, because this is the key to how to make the quilt. I'm going to come over here and show you first of all how the ravioli unit is made. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of denim, your 6-inch square of denim, and you're going to line the ravioli ruler over on top of it. And then you're going to mark inside this dashed line. Now I'm using just a Frixion pen because it's not really going to show or going to matter, and it just makes such a difference in terms of making sure that it's all visible for you. So just like that, I've marked a 5-inch square inside the denim square on the right side, and I'm just now going to mark the placement for my applique. The other thing I'm going to do is I'll turn it over now, so this is the wrong side of the denim, and I'm going to mark it again, but I only need to mark that 5-inch square. I don't need to mark the center square. So just like that. Now, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my square of wadding and a glue stick. So the glue stick, I'm just going to put a little dot of glue not too far from the inner corners of that 5-inch square, and maybe one in the middle like that. And then you see I have a placement guideline for my 5-inch square of wadding. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sandwich that with the piece of flannel. Now I can use pins, or I can actually just use these little clips, the binding clips that we use right here in the corner, just to hold the whole thing together while I stitch. And I'm just going to line up the corners like that. Here we go. Oh, get it all together. And then using a straight stitch on the machine, I'm just going to stitch around that 5-inch square. Now I do have an even feed foot on this machine, so I'm just going to stitch around. And I remove the clip when I come to the corner. If you need to go backwards like there, I've probably done, you can do that, that's not a problem. And then just continue stitching until you have a sandwich a 6-inch sandwich comprised of the denim and the wadding and the flannel on the back. Just going to clip my threads off here. And then, oh, there we go. This is the basic ravioli unit. Now I feel that it needs to be quilted something in here, and that's why I've chosen the wool, the flannel applique there, which again I just line up quite roughly, and I'm going to stitch that in place. And you can use a walking foot if you want. I'm just using an even feed foot, and it seems to do just fine. And I'll just hold that down with my seam ripper as I turn. Now this line does not have to be exact in any way. It's quite a rough applique. There we go. Okay. Right. So that's your basic ravioli unit. Now, I'm gonna make one, that's one block for the quilt, and as you can see, the applique actually quilted it sufficiently. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a pinking blade on my rotary cutter, and if you look at the ravioli ruler, there's a white line and about 1/4 inch from the edge. If you line that up with the seam you've just done, and you can just go ahead and cut the seam allowance off. Now notice that I went really quite slow. The reason that I went slow was because it's that's the way you use the pinking blade. It's not a matter of fast and hard. It's slow and easy, and you'll get a nice even cut. So again, just lining up that white line on the ruler. That's it. And the ravioli unit is ready to, your block is ready to piece. Yay! I didn't manage that one very well. There we go. Now, the way that you piece those is that you take your ravioli units, and I think I have some here. Yeah, here's one. Okay, so I'm going to piece that with that one there, and you're going to be piecing it flannel sides together. Again, just line up the points, take your binding clips, and I'm probably going to use about 3 of those. Oh. Here we go. And I'm just going to stitch those together. So I'll put a thread saver underneath my machine, and then just stitch off on that straight onto the blocks. So again, just take those clips off as you need them, as you don't find you don't need them, and then stitch on to another thread saver. Right, so that's how you can connect the blocks, like that. And if you have two more to connect, like if you're connecting rows, then what you're going to do is you see how those seam allowances, I'm going to do it just the same way as you usually piece. One seam allowance going away from you and the bottom seam allowance coming towards you. Line them up nice and lock them, and then again just take another clip right there, and I like to use the big clips for that, but you can use either one. And you can see that what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to sew that together. Okay, so here we go. Remove the clips as you come to them. Here at the junction of all that fabric, I'm just going to use my seam ripper to hold that top seam allowance down as I stitch, and straight on to another thread saver. Clip off the thread saver, and you're just about there. See, because you can see how I didn't get that right. I got two of the same there. But what you're going to do next is you're going to clip the seam allowance. So you see right there, that seam allowance is down. Just to free it up, just take a nice sharp pair of pointed scissors and make a clip into there, and that frees that up, and it frees this side up too if I make a clip there. And that's how basically I make the quilt. You can get the idea. Now, if you are doing it, you don't need to have the applique in. For example, one of the things you could do is to have just quilting in that square, and you can see I've marked. I've just done a little bit free motion quilting. Another thing is that you can take some of your fabrics, like let's say I like that fabric, and you can do an applique. Now, if you're going to do the appliques from fabric, what I usually suggest is that you do that before you sandwich, before you make your ravioli unit. And I usually use a little bit of stitch and tear that I can tear off here, and then after that I go ahead and make my ravioli unit from that. Here's another couple. For example, here's one that I've used this lovely little heart fabric and done the same thing, or you could use this fabric here, which is the haberdashery fabric, and you can pick out motifs from that, or this cat fabric, and you could maybe make a heart or something like that. The other thing you can do is you can do pre-purchased appliques that you get at the haberdashery store, or you could even do yo-yos. This is a yo-yo made from the bandana fabric and a little bit of blue fabric, and that's how it's up. So there's lots of different ways of making your quilt special, and you can add borders or not. I've added a border in that one, but the border is done in exactly the same way as the block. Is that it's sandwiched, pre-quilted, and then added afterwards. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that, and see you later.